Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. So we're just going to talk about what we did for the badge. We got some slides. They're not very interesting. We threw them together last night. So we've been working on getting the badges out for you guys. Oh, there you go. So about us, I'll start with me. Who am I? I'm FG, Kevin. I'm part of Badge Pirates. I'm actually based out of Kansas City, so part of the SecKC crew, and been building badges since 2016. So we've done, as a organization, badges for several B-sides in the U.S., one in South Africa, and just all over the place. B-sides, some villages in DEF CON, some other local events like maker fairs and stuff like that. For the last 4 years, we've done the badge here for CactusCon. It's been a great convention. I love coming to this place. So, thank you for hosting us with this. Like I said, I live in Missouri. My day job, I am in security day job, so that's what got me involved with conferences like this. I do IR and remediation. So if you ever want to talk about non-badge related stuff, I can help and talk about that too. And that's a picture of the first one that we did. Well, I think we have a picture of all of them, but that was the very first one that we got involved with, the Angry House or the Evil House or whatever it was. I love that. I still love that one the best. How we got here. So like I said, we started building badges in 2016. I was actually standing in line to get a badge. I think it was one of the badges at DEF CON, and I was standing next to another guy from SecKC, and we just met like first thing, and we started talking, and the line con, we're there for a couple hours, and we're like, man, we should make a badge. I mean, how hard could it be? It's probably really easy. So we came up with our first badge. It was really simple. It was a PCB board that you put a dev board on, and it had a screen and some LEDs. And we're like, man, this is so easy. It should be really easy just to get the rest of the components on here, and we'll save a couple of dollars on not using the dev board. Spoiler, it gets worse. So hardware-wise, I want to go into, how we got into this and how, if you're thinking about it, how you should go into it too. Start small. We did. We started with just some LEDs, and then I think it was even an afterthought to throw a little bitty screen on there. We're like, wow, this is so easy. It's just 2 pins. We'll just throw a screen on there, and then, oh yeah, we got to develop the screen and what goes on the screen. But start small. So the first ones, start with some LEDs. Start with one LED. If you could power one LED and make it do something, add 2, add 3. All of a sudden, you're up to, I think our biggest badge had 613 LEDs on it, which we only made once, and I will not revisit that one ever again. And then expand. Like I said, once you get the idea of you can power one LED, well, then you can power 2. Oh, I can put a screen on this and a button and just start expanding. If you look at the one today, I was telling them yesterday, I don't think I could sit down and just design this from scratch. It's just way too complicated. Every time I build a new one, I take last year's, copy it over, and then go in and start adjusting stuff. And then get a prototype that doesn't work, and a second one that doesn't work, and bodge some wires, connect some things, and finally get it working, and then we get our final ones. You will make mistakes. My favorite, I think this comes from Adam Savage or someone. Fail fast, fail often. You can get PCBs from China in a week. Like you send them the schematics, they will print it and get it to you within a week. Fail. I have a huge box of failed boards that I'm like, oh, that one doesn't work. Throw it in there. Try again. That's the way you're going to learn. Yeah, you will make mistakes. I personally hadn't had anything smoke, but I know a couple of people have on our badges. So it is possible. They're low powered. They're not going to kill you. They probably won't burn down your house. We use some pretty safe batteries, but that risk is there too. So think about that.
You have a few examples of some of the things that you've seen that have gone wrong?
Yeah. Let me see if he's here. I don't think he's here, so I can talk about him. Someone last year or 2 years ago, we had, just like we do this year, we had 2 batteries on here, but we only bought 1. We're like, oh, it runs fine with 1 battery, so we left the battery out. These are LiPo batteries. They're 3.7 volts, which is, you know, they're rechargeable. They're great for badges. They last a little bit longer. They thought it was a AA battery, so they put a AA in there. What happened is that 3.7 tried to top off that 1.5 volt, and that it started smoking when it was on his thing because it was just overcharging it. It couldn't handle that. So, you know, there is that opportunity. It didn't kill him. It didn't even burn it, but we're like, oh, that's a lesson learned. I'll put a fuse in there next time. So the next year had fuses. Tools. Start off, if you're interested in this, all you need is a soldering iron. That's it. You just need to solder things. You're going to make a board. You're going to get it. You're going to apply solder. You're going to put the LEDs on there. You're going to put the battery. That's all you need. All this other stuff, a microscope, a hot plate, reflow oven, pick and place, 3D printers, that's later on down the line. You can get started with a cheap soldering iron. I started with, and I'm going to show my age, a Radio Shack straight soldering iron. It was either on or off. And yeah, it was probably more expensive than that because they were high tech back then. But that's all you need. You don't have to get the expensive stuff. Everybody's like, what should I buy first? A soldering iron. Well, which one? Any soldering iron. You will use it, and then as you get better, you'll be like, man, I really need a little bit better one. Upgrade. You're going to use it a lot, so you should upgrade to your budget. Start building badges for people. Build that into your budget. Start buying better soldering irons, better equipment. I say this is my side job. We do this for fun, not profit. But it allows us to buy better equipment. So we have Hakko soldering irons, and Hakko, my buy this year was a Hakko desoldering iron. Love the thing. So, you know, work up. This other stuff is nice to have, but you don't need it.
You can always get everything fully assembled in China.
Yes, you can. And I tried to assemble a couple prototypes of this by hand, and out of 5, I think I got 2 working. So, you know, it is a lot easier to get it assembled in China. They will do it. Usually, honestly, it's $3 per badge, $3 to $4 per badge, plus the equipment. So, like they can source out the LEDs, the batteries, and everything, and you're talking $5, $6 per batch to get them assembled and shipped to you, which is not bad. And then tariffs, 50 to 150%, somewhere in there. But it is really simple to do. It does add some time to it, but you know, if you're just playing around and you want to get some good prototypes, have them do it. The resources. So I actually didn't start off with KiCad. I use KiCad extensively now. There was an online one a couple years ago. I forget even what it was called, but I think it got bought by Autodesk or something, but we started off with that. And then we moved over to KiCad, Easy, EDA, Eagle. KiCad is, and it's KiCad or KiCad. I'm gonna call it KiCad. Is open source. It's readily available, and there's a lot of help and instructions out there. Again, my background is IT. I am a security guy now. I used to be an architect. I had no electronic experience whatsoever, so I used YouTube a lot. Within the graphics, I use Inkscape for doing the graphics on here. So you've got to do some special stuff when you use graphics on badges. They're like a silk screen, like what you would use for T-shirts. So if you've ever worked with T-shirts and help making T-shirts, you'll get this really well. If you're a straight artist, it's going to be confusing because you have layers, but and those layers can't overlap. But it's, you know, I use Inkscape, and then YouTube. Honestly, YouTube, ChatGPT, Google searches, put in what you're having a problem with, and you can get it. There is a really good series. It's called Getting the Blinky. I forget the guy that did it, but he does badge building at DEF CON. It's a really good series. There's a 2.0 that that does some of the newer KiCad, but really good, walks you from opening up KiCad, creating a first project, and making a board with a single blinky on it. That's what it's really good at. I recommend sitting through it, watching it, sitting it through it again, and following his instructions. He's a really good teacher. That's what I learned. Honestly, it's what I learned with. Manufacturer-wise, there's a lot of Chinese manufacturers. We've tried several of them. I've stuck with PCBWay. That's who I use. They do the assembly, they'll do the boards, they'll even do 3D printing and injection molding and laser cutting and a lot of other things. But I specifically use them. I know JLC PCB is another one that everybody else uses, you can use. I used to think they were the same because their websites are eerily the same, but I'm pretty sure they're not. They might have like the same manufacturing line, but they are actually different companies. So, yeah, and they do assembly, 3D printing, everything else. And then for parts sourcing, US based, I use DigiKey or Mouser. So if I need something right away from DigiKey is in Minnesota, you can get that within 2 or 3 days. Same with Mouser. They're going to be a little bit more expensive. JCSC, I think that's the right name for it, is a Chinese manufacturer. They are the go-to for cheap parts. Sometimes they may be knockoffs, but that's where I source everything from. Someone asked me the other day, what do I do about parts? I try to standardize. I find a resistor I like, a LED I like, a battery holder that I like, and I try to use that on every single badge or every project I do. That way I can have extras in my shop. That way I know it works. I know the nuances behind it. I will sometimes buy stuff from DigiKey, test it out, and then look for it over on LCSC, because when you get stuff produced in China, they're going to use their local suppliers to get it if they can. And they're going to charge you what it costs over there. There are some things that you can't get, surprisingly, you can't get in China. For instance, we didn't use them this year, but the reverse mount LEDs, they're gold wing, you cannot get those in China. They don't make them in China. So you have to get them from DigiKey. I have to buy the package and then send it to China to get assembled. Same thing with some other parts. So, on this year's badge, I'll get into it, but like I do order some stuff from a manufacturer directly. Batteries, I get them directly from a manufacturer. I found those from AliExpress. I sent a message and said, hey, I see you have batteries. What's the best price you can give me? And they'll come back with something. I'll be like, okay, I need 10,000 of them. And they come directly from the manufacturer. Same with the screens for this year's and last year's. I now have a contact. His name's Johnny. I'm pretty sure that's not his name, but he's really nice. And he will coordinate with the manufacturer and get the specs of the screens that we want for a really good price. So this year's badge. So getting into the nitty-gritty of this, I wanted to demonstrate from the hardware side what our badge does. I thought it best to take a picture of it. I did post this on our blog from last year because there were some questions, but just to point things out to you. If you have the badge, they're all essentially the same, kind of the same design as last year. Like I said, I reused the design and I start adding and taking away stuff as I like. So this is almost exactly like last year's badge, but things are moved around a little bit. I've gotten better at some of the traces, and we've taken out a few of the features we didn't need. If you have it, you'll notice that there are spots for the reverse mount LEDs. We didn't want those this year because we didn't really use them. And the manual buttons, you've got a touch screen. You've got like 50 buttons there. We don't need two more manual ones. But the important thing, everybody does it. Up at the top is the on-off. I used to put 0 and 1 because I was a tech guy. I thought it was pretty cute. No one could figure it out. So it now says on and off on each side. and I point it out. I'll probably tweet this too, because I have people all the time. It's like, I'm pressing reset and it's not turning on. Well, reset doesn't turn it on and off turns it on. So that's the top left up there.
Real quick, there's some wisdom, I think, that you encouraged me to do with the on-off switch in terms of,
Yep.
the notch.
Yeah. So one thing that we've noticed, trial and error, fail fast, fail often. You'll notice on the badges, the on-off switch is recessed because we've had people knock them off. So it's recessed, so hopefully it doesn't get catches on anything. Yeah, lessons learned. Several years ago, we were just manually replacing them, like 10, 15 per conference because they kept getting knocked off. So like I said, you'll learn stuff. I wish there was a repository for all this stuff in here, but there's not. So if you ever have questions, honestly, I'm FG on the Discord for CactusCon. Shoot me a message. Ask me anything. I can help you. We have 2 LEDs, power and charge. If you turn the badge on, the green LED will come on. It's power's on. If you plug it in, it will say charge. It's charging the batteries. And if you turn it on, it will still charge, but it also has the power. I don't like the placement of these. We're going to work these out. They were kind of we should have them, but the UI behind it is, we're tech. A lot of us are tech people. We don't think about UI. UI people don't think about the tech stuff. So inside there's several of the power management, stuff like that. But then you got the USB-C. Probably 3 years ago, we went from micros and minis to C because I think it's the best. The only problem is you now have double the pins. It's harder to solder. When I hand solder, this is the bane of my existence, these USB connectors, because they're so small. It's so easy to bridge them. And I would say that 95% of my errors is that thing right there. And I'm old. My hands shake now. I can't see, so that's a little bit harder. We have the SAO connector down there. We have a micro SD also. It's not being used in this code, but it can be used. If you go in here and hack this thing away, you can use that micro SD card. I use it on our QA code for storing the SSID for the wireless, for logs, for the schedule. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can use it for. Just write to it. You load the library, write to it, read from it. It can be used for a lot of things. The big thing, of course, is the ESP32, the brains of it. I love the ESPs. Other people have been trying to talk me out of going to Pi's and other things. It's just so easy. It works. It has so many features on it. And I use the module, surprisingly. A lot of badge makers are using the straight chip, but that module is $3, $4 compared to, you can get the straight chip for, under $1, but then you have to add an antenna to it, and you have to add all the resistors and flash memory and everything else. This year we used a ESP32-S3 with PS RAM, 16 megs.
16 megs of flash and then 2 meg of additional.
Just for the programming size. Last year we meant to do that, and I ordered it wrong, and they didn't come with PS RAM, so we had to take some stuff out of last year's at like day 0. We showed up and we opened them up, and and it's not working. Why not? They don't have PS RAM on it. It's not initiating. It's like, oh no. So luckily our developers were able to rip stuff out. Across the other side, you got the buzzer at the top. I don't think we used the buzzer.
I don't think we ended up using it.
Yeah, but there is a buzzer there. You can play around with it, like a little speaker. The boot button and the reset button on each side of the status. Status, I don't think is being used. I use it a lot when I'm doing QA, so I'll have it. If you get the QA code from me, it's actually up on our website. It will, it'll show you if it's connected to Wi-Fi as it's connecting and stuff like that. Boot and reset are for the ESP. If you're hacking away on this and you want to push code to it, if you're not using the MicroPython part, you have to put it in boot mode. ESPs have to be in boot mode to receive their code. Press boot, press reset, hold boot down. It will jump into boot mode for you. So that's really the only thing that those two are done. On this year's badge, it will do an OTA check. If after it starts up, you push the boot, it will go check and make sure that there's no updates out there. If there is, it'll download it. And then the batteries. So these are not AA. I know they look like AA. If you put two AA in there, it just won't work. There's not enough power. That's what, and they're in series. So it has just the voltage, and we increase the milliamps on there. So if you put two AA's in there, it's 3 volts. Probably won't start, I would say. I haven't tried it, but it probably won't. Actually, no, it's not 3 volts. It's 1.5 volt because they're in series. Yeah. If you mix them, you will probably smoke one of the batteries. Case in point, we've seen that before. And they're both pointed inside. So I got them both pointed inside. Does anybody know why? Does anybody see why? You? Yes. Bingo. Yes. And this is one of those other things you learn. They're both facing inside. That way the negatives are right next to the lanyard connectors. Because if the lanyard connectors touch those and they're both negative, no big deal. If one's positive, one negative, could be a big deal. So something we've learned in the past definitely is we have to pay attention to what may be touching this. And trying to hide some stuff. I try to do the same thing sometimes when I layer like the screen on there to make sure some of the more important components are covered up, just so they don't short out. I think we had one time someone had a couple badges on and it touched and shorted something out. So that's always possible. You'll see mine. I do have a cover on it. I will post these STLs, but it was just a cool thing to do to try to help protect some of the things I thought looked cool. On the Discord, also there's an STL and a 3M for the cover for the batteries. You can print that out too if you want to. It's a little tight. When I designed it in Missouri, it worked fine. When I come to the dry desert here, it's too small. So I think the desert sucked out all the moisture out of this thing and it shrunk it a little bit. So if you go in there, you can play around with it. But I put that on there just so hopefully people wouldn't pull the battery off and put other ones in there or put them in there wrong, because you don't have to. Plugging into USB-C will charge batteries. So, you know, if it's acting up a little bit, plug it in, let it charge, play around with it, and it will charge the batteries. That's all I have on the hardware. Well, if we have time, we'll answer some questions on hardware if you have them afterwards, but I'll hand it over to cybaix here for software.
Yeah, just real quick, how many of you guys have soldered before? I think just about everybody. So if you haven't, there's some good opportunities in the hardware hacking village to solder. How many of you guys have soldered surface mount components before? We're getting a few hands. Awesome. So there's also a great opportunity for you in the hardware hacking village to learn how to do surface mount soldering. If you've bought a badge, you can get the Hackatoo to start with. If you complete that, you can show off that you completed it, and you can get another, it's a little fox, looks like this, with some of those reverse mount LEDs that Kevin was talking about, that you can learn how to solder surface mount components. And then there's another one after that that is even more complicated and harder. It's intended to level your skills up, but that's a really great way to begin to grow that progression and learn and make some mistakes. Part of the reason you guys probably noticed there's not a whole lot of hardware challenges and doing stuff on the badge, but we've been trying to move some of that into SAOs, so that way, hey, you don't accidentally brick your nice $125 badge by soldering something you shouldn't have. You know, if you mess up the SAO, oh well, right? So there's some things there that are helpful. So another thing I'll note, just I'm a case in point or case study for what Kevin described, just in terms of learning hardware. Went to school, a master's in computer science. I did software, and what I've been learning is I'm actually a closet electrical engineer. Who knew? So I've been exploring more on the hardware side, and I'll pass these along. Carter, if you want to hand these out, if you guys would just give them to the Brandon in the back and the folks in the back when you're done. But these were the first 2 years ago SAOs that I designed, which was following Kevin's guidance there. Hey, just start with something small, put some LEDs on it, right? And so I did that. I think I used JLCPCP at the time, and just ordered it. And I was like, is it gonna work? I don't know. We'll throw $100 at it and we'll see. And so it actually works. I was surprised.
And let me throw in, you don't have to be an electrical engineer to do this. In fact, you probably shouldn't be, because some of the stuff I do, I had an electrical engineer look at it and go, this shouldn't work. And I'm like, it does. So it's okay, right? And he's like, no, this is horrible. I'm like, yeah, but it works. It's badge life. So
Yep.
good enough for badge life. If it runs and it blinks,
It's
it can
good.
last a day or two, you're a success.
That's fine, because when I had electrical, I taught at the university for a while, and when I had electrical engineering students take programming classes, I'd point out in the code, you shouldn't do this. And yeah, so then I come back and I'm like, oh, man, yeah, I don't need that capacitor there. It's fine. So in terms of what I've been involved heavily with CactusCon, I started as a volunteer helping out on the software side initially, and I've done software for 5 CactusCons now. I did 2016, 2017, and then 2022 and thereon. And as of a couple years ago, helped step in from the leadership perspective and lead the badge team. Still help out a little bit with the software. Actually did a lot less this year. I did more hardware. I built the hardware in the kids badge, and my son wrote all the code. But yeah, this was an awesome, just kind of another step up. Last year I did the kids badge as well, but I did, as Kevin mentioned, Raspberry Pi Pico as a development board, and I just built the PCB around it. I ran the traces to all the different components, tried that out. Hey, it worked. One lesson learned that I had from all of that, and even from the SAOs this year, I caught some stuff. How many of you guys know what a footprint is in KiCad? Okay. So when you work in so there's some good learning opportunities there. When you work in the software for designing the PCB, a footprint is, if you look in the back, you'll see like pads where the components can be installed effectively, right? And those pads have to be the right size of that component. And you'll find in these libraries, they have footprints, which are basically just the layouts of that pad. And if you get the footprint wrong and you have a component that doesn't match, suddenly you have a problem that you can't easily fix. You got to redo your PCB, do another production run. You'll learn some of that. Fortunately, even with the SAOs, I caught something with the Verse LEDs just before I clicked the order button. I'm like, maybe I should measure the pads to make sure they're long enough. And it's like, nope. People are going to have a really hard time soldering this. So double check your footprints. But anyways, talking about hardware, you can see where my mind has been at. So I've been involved heavily with a lot of the software, and every year from a software perspective and hardware perspective, we start like 3 weeks from now. We're going to start talking about the next con for CactusCon 2027. What I've found really helpful, especially from a software perspective and hardware perspective, very early on, we try to nail down, what are we going to do? What is the key thing we could walk away with and have, like, that's cool. And we focus on that. We try to be very narrow, because it's really easy to fall in this trap of scope creep. Like, oh, that's a cool idea. We should add this. We should add this. And before you know it, oh, it's December. We don't have an idea what we're doing. We've had thousands of ideas. So having a really well-defined kind of MVP is kind of what we look at it. And from several of the past few years, like CactusCon 11, we had kind of that hackable hell house. The theme of the conference was IoT, and we tried to get some challenges based around IoT built into it. But at the end of the day, what really ended up being cool was some of the stuff around, you push a button in the badge area and it lit up everybody's badges at once. And that was kind of the first stepping stone for a lot of software that we do now. For 2012, we thought, hey, it'd be really cool. It was kind of, we were looking at the dystopian theme for you guys, or CactusCon 12, sorry. You guys were, who were there. We had the social credit system. We're like, hey, could you use Bluetooth and have them beacon and then report back? And that was really interesting and fun, challenging software to write, but also a little scary what someone could do at home with 500 plus hours of time. But still, hey, that everyone, we had data about we deleted all of it, but who was communicated, not from names, but this BLE token or this BL MAC address talked with this BL MAC address at some point, right? And so like it was very eye-opening for me in terms of how incredibly powerful some of this stuff has become. And then CactusCon 13, as Kevin mentioned, we really tried to push things for that badge. It was the last year's badge. That was the first time we ever did anything with a touchscreen. I don't know of too many other badges that have a touchscreen this size, but for us, it was a huge step up from the software side. That's where the additional RAM really came in helpful, because the ESP32 by default has 512K of RAM. How many here has written code that has operated with less than 512K of RAM? Sweet, a couple people, good job. Every developer, I think every new computer science, everyone studying computer science should have to go through that exercise at least once. But yeah, it's quite a challenge, and especially when you get UI components and other things. Did I do something bad? Okay. If I get if you get UI components, even just like a TLS connection, like we had for last year's badge, we tried to have 3 connections to a server. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 512K of RAM and each connection requires 50K because you have to store the TLS certificates, that takes up a lot of your RAM. And yeah, when we got to the con Thursday and the badges and it's like, nope, we don't have the additional 2 meg. PS RAM gives you additional RAM on the ESP32. We don't have the additional 2 meg, we thought. Oops. So yeah, we had a fun panic to try to figure out, well, how do we throw everything out that we possibly can just to get something working? So yeah, that was last year's badge. In addition, we had Wi-Fi problems at the venue here too that was compounded things. But we learned a lot of lessons from that. So that's some of the things that we focused on. For those of you that haven't been in prior badges, someone posted in Breaking Badge on Discord. Please hang out Breaking Badge Discord, ask us questions there. Love to engage, but this is just a few that as you see kind of that evolution over time. Just for time, I won't spend a tremendous amount of time talking about the software architecture stuff, but we've kind of fallen into these 2 different patterns. So we started with was, can we have the badge through the BLE, like with the social credit stuff? The back end, we had a back end that was driven in EC2 that did all the game computation. We had like game ticks basically, and each tick, every badge would report back to the server basically, hey, who did I exchange with? Who did I see? And then the back end would keep track of their social credit score and then push out additional updates. So how many guys were there for 2 years ago? That would be the badge with the big Hacktar. A few guys, yeah. So you guys notice, your screen had a score on it, it'd go up or go down. That was based on who you were kind of around. And we also planted stations that would either increase your score or decrease your score, right? So wherever you're hanging out, that would make a difference. And that was all handled on the back end. And we did a lot of stuff to make it such that people couldn't really manipulate it or cheat. And so we've learned some things from that. We left some stuff there that we kind of like, oh yes, folks might be able to compromise. I mean, we can't make it perfect. So we knew there was some vulnerabilities, but I think we closed it down way too much. And so it also made for a lot of complication, like the back-end stuff, all the unpredictable Wi-Fi, like we had tons of problems. And so this year, we threw that all away. And now we have still some back-end infrastructure, but that registration screen, that's it, and that's completely optional. That's so we can understand a little bit about, hey, how many people actually turned their badge on and used it, right? But aside from that, not a whole lot. We have a local fallback Wi-Fi device as well in case we need to do updates in the hardware hacking village if venue Wi-Fi was just really bad. But aside from that, OTA and that registration, the badges all just communicate with each other. And how many of you guys have heard of CactusFlash? You gotta follow the Discord channel. Someone has realized that there is no server validation in this game and has uploaded a exploit. We're not 100% sure it works yet because there is some validation. You have to convince another badge that your stats of 9,999 are legitimate, and it agrees that yes, that's a valid stat for that character. But they're headed down the right path, we think. And so that is really awesome. We love to see that. Please cheat. Find ways to cheat with this. Plug into it. Start manipulating. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of some hints here in a minute. So yeah, a lot of it, the badge stuff, we'll probably keep that going because it definitely simplifies things quite a bit and allows us to do some fun games and focus our development time on code on the badge, which is really what takes a lot of the time. Since we're running short on time, I'll skip past this, but just know I love the ESP32. I've been playing around with other microcontrollers just to kind of check out what options there are. How many of you guys got to the 3rd level? How many of you guys did go to the hardware hacking village and got to the 3rd level? Okay, a handful of you. The rest of you, the 3rd level uses the WCH32. That microcontroller has a 48 megahertz processor and 2K of SRAM. So if you want even more of a challenge, write code in less than 2K. How many people have written code that operates under less than 2K of RAM? A couple, okay, good. That's even more a challenge. On the SAO, that SAO, there's a blue LED, reverse mount LED. That blue reverse mount LED costs more than the CH32. It's shocking. We have a Commodore 64 in the hardware hacking village, and like that CH32 is more powerful and fits on my finger. But yeah, that CH32 was about 17 cents per chip. The blue LED, I think, was like 42 cents per chip or per LED. So it's wild. But we'll probably be using that a little bit more for like SAOs and other things in future years because it's a cheap thing we can put on something that we can mass produce and hand out in the hardware hacking village. So yeah, lots of cool things to explore. Now, we titled this talk Breaking Badge. Someone named the Discord channel that randomly one day, and that was really cool. But I was like, hey, what if I showed you guys how to break your badge? So who wants to break their badge today? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to try doing live coding on the fly. We'll see how this goes. I did this for a few years, and we have short time frames, so it'll go really well. That's old stuff. Don't worry about that. All right. We're going to, first and foremost, power our badges on. Doesn't matter if you've got the screen, what screen it's on. Just power it on, plug it in to the USB-C port. And I assume this is being recorded, so you guys can go back and watch this later. But once you have it plugged into the USB-C port, oh, I should mention, this is Thonny. How many of you guys have heard of Thonny? It's a Python development IDE. You can use MP Remote. The badges run MicroPython. And so any MicroPython IDE you can find, it'll do the same thing. But with Thonny, you have to hit stop. Some of them you have to hit Control-C. And you should be able to, let's see. Come on. Got it? Okay, thank you. We're going to hit Control-C, stop. Okay, you just have to stop. How many coded in Python before? Almost everybody. Awesome. This is a great platform to work on. How do you stop a Python script from running on Python? Anybody? Control-C works the same on here, right? So what you'll get is something that looks probably pretty familiar. What does this look like? Bingo, yeah, Python REPL. You can start typing code in here and make your badge like blink lights. Import from machine, import pin. You can find tons of MicroPython tutorials online. We'll also publish where all the pin numbers and things like that are. But from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the file system. Oh, it's on another screen. Hold on. This is all live, I swear, not recorded. We'll go to the MicroPython device. And it's also going to pop up on the other screen. That's how you know it's live. And then you can see, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. We didn't want to make it too easy, so you'll see there's some PY files and some MPY files. MPY files are byte-compiled MicroPython, and there are decompilers out there if you really want to dig into it. But some things for convenience we did leave open, and some things we left open to make it a little bit easier. But if you take a look at main.py, which again, that's coming off of this badge, you can start to see some of our very plain code. So you can see how we initialize some of the application. And if you really, really want to, where did it go to? I'm going to save time in typing this out. Where did I have it? There we go. I'm just going to make a minor modification during boot. I'll explain the code quickly because I do want to leave this a minute for questions. I'm going to hit save. So basically all I've done is, and I think it wasn't working last night, but I've used, how many know what a NeoPixel is? Okay, a NeoPixel, those LEDs that light up on the badge, those are called NeoPixels or WS281.2s. They're just programmable LED, RGB LEDs, right? And so the NeoPixel library is included with MicroPython by default. So all I've done is just import that here. I've also imported just the GPIO pin. These are some things you can look up later, but and use it on pin 18, so that's how you talk with RGB LEDs. And then when I say mp.fill, that's going to say, hey, make it like a greenish bluish color. So this is RGB codes here. So 0, 200 as the green, and 150 is the blue. And then I say write, and that'll make it change what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit play and let it run. And we're going to let us do a thing. And since it's live, it probably won't work. But I've heard the probability of demos, live demos working are, oh, look, hey, now my badge has a nice little green color on it. So you guys can do that now too, and begin to explore and play around with it and do whatever you'd like. So have fun, hack at the badge. I'm going to shut up and let you guys ask some really good questions, because that's what I really love to spend time doing. So who has questions? Question, yeah. You can take it out and use it if you need for something else. One of the things I've really wanted to see out of the con is folks do cool stuff with the badges after they're done. We are going to open source all the code this year. Just once it's done, we're going to take all the Pi files, put them up there on the GitHub. Last year, the code was a disaster after, and we said we were going to clean it up, but then we got all consumed with planning for next year. So, but yeah, the SD card, we have hoped to use it, but the 16 mega flash in the ESP32s has actually been enough storage for us. We've never ended up using it. Although Kevin's got really great ideas for storing logs there, which can be helpful in debugging and troubleshooting. So yeah, but yeah, you could use it for other things, or like I said, code it to do what you want. Other questions? They do nothing. Bad things won't happen. We didn't add software for that. That was actually that was another leftover from last year's. We had challenges on the badge. Cutting it. Well, it's a great experience. So here's an opportunity. Those are still mapped to GPIO pins, right? So you can learn how to read that GPIO pin and determine, did you successfully cut that trace? Because I have actually the kids badge, the first badge, I did a prototype. Always do prototypes. I knew I was going to have to order 100, and I think we would usually want 170 of them. And so that's a decent amount of money. And so I ordered 10 first, which I'm really glad I did, because I had 2 of the wires crossed. So the first 10 I ordered were not usable. But in order to figure out, hey, I messed something up, I got to fix it. I need to make sure I fix it and what's wrong. I had to cut some of the traces on this. And then I soldered some wires off of this serial UART onto the pin or pads I had on the ESP32. And so cutting a trace is something you will have to do. And I'd recommend just play around with some MicroPython. See, did you cut it successfully?
Good.
Hey, that you're trying. That's, yes, awesome.
Red hair. Yeah.
I will throw a hint out. You're down the right path, and I will say these MPY files, all the codes, like you guys have seen, there's codes to unlock special things. It's not stored server side. It's all on your badge. Ooh.
And you can expect from me to have red herrings on badges. In our that is legal.
It can be really distracting, because as a novice, like trying to go, is this part of the
Fair. Yep.
distraction? We didn't know. So we were hoping for
Yeah.
implementation, so we didn't get distracted.
Yeah.
Feel free to hit, like, honestly, if you're working challenges, reach out to us. Find us in the conference, ask us. I've done challenges with Lost at DEF CON where we've sat with him and we're like, are we on the right track? And he'd be like, or yeah. So I have no problem. I'm not going to tell you the answer,
Sure.
but I may be like, you don't need to do that. So, or you're going down the wrong hole. But you can expect red herrings for sure.
Cool. Let me you had your hand up. Yeah, another question.
Are you guys thinking about like getting knowledge? Are you guys thinking, oh, what's going to happen if somebody like gets mad and thinks yes, maybe to that hackable today?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I will, Randall, who's not here this year, who I'll give massive credit to. He spent a tremendous amount of time balancing the stats that he had came up with to see, hey, this will be somewhat fair, and played some rounds out and actually did some simulations with it too, which are like, dang, man, awesome. It's cool to see him grow as a badge developer on some of this stuff and then some things he's done. So yes, we did spend a lot of time with that. Now you asked a really good question of, wait, what if someone changes their stats on their badge? How do you handle that? No server-side validation, right? What we did implement is a consensus algorithm. So Randall came up with this. He came up with an algorithm where the other badge has to agree that you're battling with that those are sensible stats, like they're within range of something. And that's where we kind of think CactusFlash might not accomplish what they think it does, but they're on the right path because there are some things that don't necessarily require the consensus algorithm. So
Are you here, Ed?
is the CactusFlash guy here? No, or girl? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Bummer.
I could say that yes, he did think of that. Just changing stats won't work. But there is a way to level and evolve your characters through code. There absolutely is a way. And I think you hinted at it.
So,
It's something you said.
ran into a bug with the hack that breaks the consensus algorithm. And
Nice. We can help fix that. So yeah, definitely any bugs you guys see in the badges, bring to, and even next year, like the Breaking Badge channel in Discord. That's the best way to get it to us and get it resolved. So share that with us. Let's talk offline. We can see if we can get that patched. And no, it's all good. There's one more question I think somebody had in the back. I'm maybe.
I can.
It's a disaster. We did also, I did mention, hey, someone could, and you could still take this badge and make it an ESP Marauder with,
Yeah.
I honestly, after there has been 3 people, Kevin's tried it, I've tried it, Randall's tried it, that code base, the ESP Marauder code base needs some love. We'll just leave it at that. But it might be probably easier to rewrite it all in MicroPython and just do that. So we will, the code for last year's badge was all written in C. There's a lot of ugly things we did with C last year, so I have some code shame there. But the MicroPython is really clean. It's easy to read and has a lot of examples how you work with. We use a library called LVGL, which is like we didn't write all the rendering code ourselves. Like we say, hey, we want a rectangle here, draw a rectangle, and it does all the pixel magic. But that should make it it should be fairly easy to write MicroPython. But the key thing is I really love to see the community take this. Don't just let this sit on your desk gathering dust when it's done. This is meant to be a learning exercise after the conference. So go take a look at the resources we're gonna go publish, take a look at some of the code we're gonna go publish. Go play with it, write some code on it. See, can you just get a light to blink on it? Start there. Can I get a light or even just turn on, right? And keep going from there with the goal of, hey, I could monitor Bluetooth with this and I could print out on the screen all the Bluetooth connections I see. That's probably about 100 lines of code. That's a guesstimate. I tend to be low on my estimates, so 200 for padding for error. So
I'll release the QA code that I have for these badges, and it's written in C, and it just goes through and checks everything. It has screens, you can interact with it. It's really, really simple. I'll release that, but I want to jump on real quick with here, what he's talking about. For next year, we are probably, definitely if you have one, I want you to hack on it. Post in the Discord what you're doing, what your project is. I'm gonna have some people judge, and the top 2 people will get a special badge next year.
ooh,
Badge for next year. Now, you guys know about this right now. Later on today, I'll post it in Discord, but hack on this, make some stuff, make some tools. I've got ideas on tools. You'll think how you can improve this. If you do that, you may also have code ready for next year to be able to patch and to be able to make your own code for that. Because you've seen how I design. I've already taken to this year's repo, moved it over to next year's, and started cleaning stuff up. So we're probably going to use the same hardware. It may change on some pinouts and stuff like that, but you're going to be close. But if you start coming up with some ideas and some code, post it on the Discord. I have a couple people that want to be the judges, and the top 2 voted code exploits, code additions, code Changes, we'll get 2 badges. We'll get 1 badge from me for the top 2. And it'll be cool. I trust me. I'll make it.
I think we got 0 minutes, so last question, really quick. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We initially found those on Amazon, and I wanted Kevin to say, hey, can we get this cheaper than $30 a screen? And so he found an awesome vendor for it, and yeah. That's like I said, most conferences, I don't think I've seen too many full touch screens because it's just so expensive. But yeah, this has been an awesome, amazing addition, and it was a ton of work to figure out how to get wired in there and everything working and the code. Just like it was a lot. So I think they shut the projector off to say, gotta go. So thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.